But if you can only sing one song, then Don't You Want Me by the Human League is not the worst choice in the world. Okay, here we go. And we are at the entrance. Oh, I don't know who that guy is.
Believe this to be a gateway to hell, so they try to stay the hell away from it.
But doesn't it look like some of these have melted into what looks like really scary monster faces? We have spent the last 2 decades visiting Italy, and I can tell you, Castellana Grotte wins the award for the biggest disparity between how many people go there and how awesome it is. And I think that's for 2 reasons. Number 1, it is not as easily accessible as other sites. And number 2, because you're almost always not allowed to film there, there are very few videos promoting its existence. We're going to change all that today by showing you how to get there, because it is very simple, and we have access to film a little bit more than you're normally allowed to at the site. So I really hope you enjoy this very special video. Found this sign. You can see it says Bari Centrale at one end and Putignano at the other. So we want to look for a bus that says Bari Putignano, and I believe this one does. This one says Bari Putignano and also says 131 Bay, which our tickets say. So we're here. It is accessible from most home bases of Puglia to visit for a day trip. We liked it. We passed Maserati dealerships, and the bus had a great view of the towns as we drove through them. Once you get to the bus station, there is a 28-minute walk, but if you're in Italy, be prepared to walk. If you don't have a data plan on your phone, there is a map that can lead you to the castle. This is the walk, fairly nice walk. If you don't have Apple Maps, if you don't have data plan or something like that, you can still look at the directions. It's a few quick turns, and once you get on this road, that's 99% of the walk. It's like 1.1 miles to the castles, and it's been fairly pleasant. There's not a ton of shade at this time of the day, but you know, that varies depending on when you're doing it. So, you know, we're good. We're looking forward to seeing some caves.
We're hoping there's food.
Yeah, we're hoping there's some food along the way. That was our plan. We haven't seen an open restaurant yet. One of our issues here is that it is the it's the riposo. People are resting while we are walking. So fingers crossed on some food. If not, we'll pay way too much for food that is not great, presumably at the castle.
At the caves.
Yeah, at the cave. Castello di Grotto, the Grotto Cave. Grotto Castle Cave, who knows? We'll find out. Castellana de Grotte.
So it looks like this wall was constructed of some of the limestone, which the caves we're going to be seeing shortly was also created from. It's very porous. It stacks nicely. What a beautiful little poppy.
Oh, don't make opium out of that.
Poppies.
Well, we didn't find a restaurant, but there are several that are located near the grotto, and some of them look really decent, but as you can see, most of them are closed for riposa. So we were under a time crunch and chose the most convenient one. Sorry for the noise. There are a lot of restaurants right by the cave entrance, a lot of them. So if you get there 45 minutes, an hour beforehand, you can go to one of those. The Taverna degli Amici is not open, but we're going to this bar just to get a couple of slices of pizza and a couple of Cokes, just because this is 3 kilometers of walking in a cave, so we need some calories. Grazie mille. And here are the pizzas. All right, here we are to the entrance. It is both the entrance and the biglietteria where you get your tickets, but you get your tickets online, you do not have to wait, and we've heard sometimes the line at the ticket office is very long. So we'd rather pay the $3 service charge and not wait in line. We were told to get here early because we want to be able to hear the guide. And so we have done so, and we are at the cave entrance. Very exciting. Another tip is to dress so you'll probably be a little too warm getting there, because then you'll be maybe a little cool after you get in the cave, because the temperatures drop considerably and we're not even in there. The bad news is this is a crowd much larger than normal. The good news is they have split it into parlez-vous français and parle inglese.
Perfetto.
Perfetto, perfect. And now the guy is singing Human League. Hey, can we get some more Human League on there? It was sounding good.
Well, possibly not me singing, sorry.
Ah, okay.
But here we didn't take any risk. Down there, everything might collapse.
Ah,
Do you take requests?
capisco.
We all know with the helmet, so, you know. I do care for my colleagues.
If you can only, first of all, the stairs are very wet and slippery. But if you can only sing one song, then Don't You Want Me by the Human League is not the worst choice in the world. Okay, here we go. We are at the entrance. Oh. Chicos. I don't know who that guy is. Franco Anelli, this is the person who this piazza that the grotto is located after is named after. Good Lord.
They used to be very superstitious, believed this to be a gateway to hell, so they tried to stay the hell away from it. And they say that the caves must have started to form roughly 100 million years ago, and at this point the continents looked a little bit different back then. And all of this must have been below the ocean, and all of this is limestone. You only get limestone if you have an ocean above, because this is made, for the most part at least, out of sand and seashells and mollusks and all of that. So yeah, because of plate tectonics, then it got pushed up and started to raise out of the water. And during this movement, there was a lot of pressure on the stone. This is a very brittle stone, and so this started to crack. You can see some of those cracks along the walls where you have the dripstones coming out on this wall. And of course, those are small cracks. There were big cracks as well. So basically, this first cave is connected with the last cave via one long crack that we will be following. This is our path, basically. Because of those cracks, then the seawater basically was able to infiltrate this cave system and filled it up and washed it out. And this went on for millions and millions of years. That water went through here until roughly 3 million years ago. And at this point, this got pushed up once again, and this time so far up that basically since then we're sitting on 300 meters above the sea level on the surface. At this point, the water then slowly drained and disappeared and left the caves empty. And because there was no longer any pressure on the walls, because before there was water in there, after the water disappeared, like I said, the caves remained empty, and then pieces started to break off and fall down, and from the walls basically. And the more this continued, the thinner the ceiling became, and the ceiling at this point caved in as well and created this opening roughly 3 million years ago. So, and only at this point, rainwater was able to infiltrate this cave system. And rainwater contains CO2, which it takes from the atmosphere and from the soil, of course. Once it comes into contact with the limestone, the CO2 turns into carbonic acid, which is a very weak acid, but still strong enough to dissolve the stone, this limestone at least. And basically, the water seeps through the cracks in the stone and takes the calcium carbonate out of the stone, takes it with it. And when it gets to a ceiling where it might remain until it evaporates or until it drips down, it deposits a little bit of this calcium carbonate back on the ceiling, where this then crystallizes and forms, one drip at a time, of course, the stalactites, the formations hanging down. Whatever then drips on the floor accumulates there, crystallizes, forms stalagmites. On occasion, those two join, they form columns. And you can see two columns down there on the left-hand side, which is basically the entrance to the second cave. And of course, once we're inside, there will be quite a few more columns that you will be able to see. For the dimensions of this cave, after the last step down there, we will be 60 meters below the surface. This cave is 100 meters long, 50 meters wide. Temperature-wise, it varies between 8 and 13 degrees Celsius here in this first cave, since we have this opening. All of the other caves are closed, so there's a little bit warmer temperature in there, something between 16 and 18 degrees Celsius. And of course, there's a very high humidity, which is already 75% here in this first cave. This will increase the deeper we go inside. And of course, it's going to be wet and slippery, so please watch your steps at all times, especially when we walk downstairs. It can be very, very slippery in some points. And yeah, last but not least, this is also an Italian cave system. This means the ceiling can get as low as 1.70 meters. So if you're taller than me, you have to watch your head as well. Oh. Right, no helmets.
If you have been on this tour, please tell me, doesn't it look like, obviously there's some man-made stuff for tourists up there, but doesn't it look like some of these have melted into what looks like really scary monster faces? Like, what about those two? That didn't seem scary? Maybe it's just me.
The one thing he didn't mention in the introduction were dripstones, but every type of dripstone is on this tour, including flowstones, curtains, coralloids, and pond crystals. Most of them look like some sort of crazy special effect created by somebody working on a movie, but they're actually real, and you can never believe it when you're looking at them.
I just can't believe a movie has not been, just got dripped on. That's so funny. Filmed here. It seems like an easily, I guess it might be because they're worried that it would damage the stalagmites and stalactites. Like, look at the algae buildup here. This just does not look real.
Although it is real, and the reason why we are treated to these unique views is because this is what's known as a karst cave. Karst cave is the term for canyons that were created by the dissolving action of rain and seawater, and the unique properties of each room kind of dictate how they look and why there are so many different looks. When you look at this, keep in mind, only 15 million people have visited this since the 1940s. That's what, like 5 days at Disney parks?
I wish they would give more access to film this place than they do. You're going to see a scene here where this guy got a better view and he agreed to grab Angie's camera and film it. He meant well, but he filmed it sideways. I did promise him I would include his footage, so, there you go.
I have also visited Luray Caverns in Virginia, and they are awesome, but these caverns at Castellana Grotte are on a different level. First of all, every time the conditions change based on where you are, the colors and the shapes just change so dramatically. There are canyons and deep abysses below you, and above you, you go from areas where I have to step down to avoid hitting my head, and then it opens up to rooms that Godzilla wouldn't bump his head. You see the White Cave right here? This is really another level of astonishing beauty. as you can see. That part right there is where the cave sort of stops, but the sea is 10 kilometers away. So eventually, they could conceivably add 10 kilometers to this 3-kilometer hike. Speaking of that, there is a shorter version of the tour. It costs a little bit less, and you don't have to walk nearly as far. But in that version, you miss the White Cave, and I just think if you could possibly make the climb, you should do it. 1938, Franco Anelli is the one who officially discovered this cave, and later on it opened to tourists. They purposely sent him there to try to discover whether A, it's hell and nobody should ever go there, or B, it's an awesome place for tourists, and they decided B. There's kind of unanimous agreement that it had been visited before, most notably by Vincenzo Lugo, who took a group of young explorers there maybe 150 years earlier, but that didn't really lead to anything because there was no evidence that it wasn't hell, and in fact, aspects of their description led people to believe that, hey, maybe this kind of is hell. Vincenzo Lungo's group believed that it might be hell for a couple of reasons. Number one, just visually, it did not look like anything in Earth, as you have seen. And also, there are 5 different species of bats down there. And that sort of leads to the impression of hell. You go to the end, to the White Cave, and then you turn around, and eventually your tour ends up here. You can see people are wistfully viewing the original grave or grotto from the other side of it, and it's cool, but it's bittersweet because you know that the tour is coming to an end. Now, one note, you don't have to climb up the stairs on the way back because at the back end of this grotto is an elevator. It takes about 3 trips. It dumps you out of this corridor, which is to the right of the original entrance, and then just walk back that same street to your bus.
Okay, I have some final tips if you're gonna visit Castellana Grotte. First of all, you should. If you have the opportunity, it's absolutely worth it. It's an absolutely amazing display. It's just so unique. It's unbelievable. So I would go see it. We were given the advice that you have to get really close to the guide or you won't be able to hear them. And that is true. You do want to be as close as possible. I think even the people furthest away could maybe strain to hear. But what we did is we got in the line for the door very, very early because we wanted to be first in line. That wasn't really necessary because the first stop you saw there is the cave, and that's a big photo opportunity, and everybody was taking photos. And even if you were last in line, if it was important to you to be right by the guide at the end of that, you could do that and stay in that position. So you can sit on the benches and get in the line last. That's not a bad thing. Do not ignore the no-slip shoes. If you're from the United States, a lot of these tourist attractions will go above and beyond, warning you about certain things to reduce the liability. No country is litigious as the United States anywhere outside of the United States because the United States has 8% of the world's population and over 90% of the world's lawyers. It's not like that anywhere else. So when they tell you to wear shoes that are non-slip shoes, you need to pay attention to that because we both wear sneakers that had tread on them, maybe not the greatest tread, but we still had to take care not to slip. There was, both of us, none of us fell, but there was a lot of slippage in there. And here's the last thing. Please, please, please go to the bathroom right before you take the tour. There were so many people that got hammered. One person had to leave the tour because they just couldn't hold it anymore. It is a long tour with a lot of walking, no bathroom stops, so please definitely go to the bathroom while you're there.
You falling in love with the wall or something?
I had an accident.
You had an accident? What does that mean? You!
If you like this Italy video, please like and subscribe because as you can see, there's a lot more Italy videos already on our channel and a whole lot more Italy videos to come on the 4 Chains Travel.